Even after thousands of years have passed, the ancient Egyptian civilization continues to inspire people all over the world, in part because many of its mysteries continue to elude scientists and scholars who are still working to unravel them. There is still much to discover about the country of sacred cats and hieroglyphs, despite the fact that it has provided excellent research material over time. Here are a few things that have thus far escaped explanation. How did Tutankhamun pass away? King Tutankhamun, despite passing away at a young age, may be one of the most well-known pharaohs. The topic of how did he die is still unanswered, nevertheless. In the 2013 documentary, Tutankhamun, The Mystery of the Burnt Mummy, a team of British researchers used CT scan data from Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities from 2013 and 1968 X-ray photos of Tutankhamun's mummy to evaluate its contents. The crew came to the conclusion that Tut most likely passed away in a trolley collision after the movie showed that he had serious rib injuries and a fractured leg. Another theory put out by National Geographic was that he might have been killed by a horse-drawn carriage kick. Another theory from National Geographic suggested that the death might have been brought on by a hippopotamus attack. Aside from the animals, other researchers think that the removal of some of the king's bones is a mystery caused by thieves who stole them during the Second World War to get the priceless beads that were on his chest. Another argument was put up by Professor Albert Zinke, the director of the Italian Institute of Mummies, who said that Tut's accident was nearly impossible, after using 2,000 computer images and testing the DNA of the Tut family. Since his father and mother were brothers, Zinke believed Tut might have passed away due to a frail body. Where is Alexander the Great's tomb? Alexander the Great was the closest person to rule the entire known world, at the time, but despite his fame, no one is aware of his final resting place. In two articles regarding the hunt for Alexander the Great's tomb that Robert Bianchi wrote for the Journal of Archaeology and were published in 1993 and 1995, the following was discovered. When Alexander died in 323 BC, he intended to be thrown into the Euphrates River so that his people would believe he had vanished and gone to heaven to be with his father. As a result, there was never supposed to be a tomb. His generals allegedly decided to bury him instead, and he is thought to have been interred in 3 locations, the first of which being Memphis, the Egyptian Old Kingdom's capital. It was transferred to a new tomb in Alexandria during the 4th or 3rd century BC, and it later gained a new tomb there as well. Alexander's tomb may have been broken into and vandalized at some point, as neither the tomb nor Alexander's body are present today, and no one is aware of what happened to him. What happened to Nefertiti the queen? One of Egypt's most well-known queens, Nefertiti ruled alongside Pharaoh Akhenaten for many years before disappearing. Due to the lack of a tomb or mummy for her after 1336 BC, there is no evidence available on what happened to her. This is especially odd given how carefully the ancient Egyptians dealt with the dead. One of the theories, according to the History website, is that she took Akhenaten's place as regent and changed her name to Neferneferuaten. Another version claims that she assumed a man's identity and changed her name to Smenkhkare. However, Nefertiti is no longer mentioned anywhere, and the only evidence for these claims at this time comes from the names that follow Nefertiti in the royal timeline. One or more extra rooms may have been discovered in King Tut's tomb, according to an announcement made by the Egyptian Minister of Antiquities in 2015, and one of these rooms may end up in Nefertiti's crypt. If that occurs, the researchers could finally be able to determine when she passed away and whether any artwork in the vault shows that she either assumed power on her own, was assassinated, or simply vanished into an undiscovered thread life. What is the reason behind the expressions of sorrow on the unknown man's face? It is not surprising that some mummies appear to be screaming because they weren't. Rather, their mouths were opened during special rituals to allow for eating, drinking, and breathing in the afterlife, as was thought. One mummy in particular, though, seems to have been wailing and in terrible pain, and no one is sure why. This mummy was found in 1886, and according to National Geographic, it quickly caught their attention since the dead guy appeared to be screaming in pain. There are several theories as to how he passed away, and some scientists think he might have been poisoned or buried alive. Others think it was a dead Hittite royal, but Long Island University archaeologist Bob Breyer opposes that, saying, if they killed this guy, they'd get rid of the body, not embalming him. According to The Grange, a 2008 investigation of the unknown guy suggested that he might have been Prince Pentwer, who was killed for plotting to kill his father, Pharaoh Ramesses III. If this is the case, it would explain why he was buried in cow leather, which, in the opinion of famous Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass, shows that he had a miserable life. It could also explain why there were no markers on his tomb, which prevented him from entering the afterlife, the worst penalty an ancient Egyptian could receive, and why his embalming was poor. Without DNA testing, these are only theories. What was the Sphinx's original name? Up until 1817, when we first saw its head sticking out from the sand layers, we had no knowledge of the Great Sphinx. Since then, knowledge of who built it, Pharaoh Khafre, how it was completed, hundreds of paid workers using huge blocks of surrounding limestone, and how long it took to complete has been made possible thanks to archaeologists, based on the copper and stone tools used. If 100 people are working on it, they have been using it for perhaps 3 years. But since Sphinx is a Greek term that was not in use when Khafre created his monument, the true name of the Sphinx has remained a mystery up to this day. According to Egyptologist James Allen, it is thought that builders gave the Sphinx the nickname Bob when they named it. I hope you enjoyed our story for today. Stay tuned for the Sphinx and Pyramid's most mysterious secrets in the upcoming videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Spooky Secrets channel.